just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, presented by Bolen Media, with new episodes dropping twice weekly. I am Ross Bolen, and I am still emotionally, physically, spiritually, and sexually recovering from the greatest come-from-behind, win in the history of the Houston Texans franchise. With 26 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, the Texans came roaring back and beat the Jacksonville Jaguars with Davis Money Mills at the helm offensively, and I have perhaps never been more shocked by any Houston sports moment in my lifetime. We've had plenty of insane wins. No shortage of massive postseason Astros walk-offs, for example. But none of them come close to being as much of a surprise as this team, with this offense, with this offensive coordinator, with everything we have seen this season, with their backup quarterback Davis Mills, scoring 26 unanswered points to essentially save their season. In the first half of this game, Texans fans were turning the shit off, walking away from their TVs, disowning the team on social media, calling for everyone to be fired, drinking heavily, and crying alone in the dark. Davis Mills looked like complete and utter shit. We were down 17-0 with 11 minutes to go in the second quarter. No CJ Stroud, no Kaimi Fairbairn, no Joe Mixon, seemingly no hope, no shot of making the playoffs if we lose this game, no reason to keep pulling ourselves and putting ourselves through this shit every week as fans. DeMeco Ryans looked genuinely disgusted with the offense on the sideline. There were dropped passes, interceptions, fumbles. We gave up a fucking punt return for a touchdown. Texans Twitter was up in arms, reminding everyone that Davis Mills signed a $7 million guaranteed extension for next season. It was a shit show of epic proportions. One of the worst and least enjoyable halves of football I have ever seen. But somehow the Texans went into halftime down only 10 points. 20-10 Jaguars at the half. Then the Jaguars opened up the third quarter with back-to-back drives resulting in made field goals. The Texans were suddenly down 29-10. All hope seemed to be lost. A lot of us, myself included, flipped over to the Rockets game to avoid losing our fucking minds. The Texans were down 29-10 with 1 minute and 33 seconds to play in the third quarter. But then something happened. Like Gandalf arriving to Helm's Deep at first light on the fifth day. The neck woke up. The entire offense seemingly woke up. And the rest is, as they say, history. Now, before I verbally fillet Davis Mills and Nick Caley and Nico Collins and the entire offense, I want to reiterate that without this Texans defense, this season is already over. This Texans defense has kept this team in every single game this season. They have never taken a drive off. They have never given up on their teammates who play on the other side of the ball. They've never hung their heads. They've never stopped swarming. This Texans defense is among the best and most respectable this team has ever had. Danielle Hunter went nuclear with 3.5 sacks for 32 yards. Will Anderson Jr. remains a complete beast. Derek Stingley Jr. might be the best cornerback in all of football and had one of the most impressive one-handed interceptions that I have ever seen. He had no business catching that football. Danico Autry's bear paws are like ball magnets. Kalen Bullock, Kamari Lassiter, Azeez Al-Shaair. Everyone on this defense is a fucking winner. Period. A winner. Now back to the offense. You can't say enough about the neck, man. You can't say enough. Davis Mills had to throw the ball 45 times in this game. 45 passing attempts. He finished with 292 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, one of which was a 14-yard game-saving, potentially season-saving touchdown run to take the lead late and win this game. After throwing an interception on the first possession of the game, and with the way things went in the first half on the whole, and considering how little momentum this offense has been able to build over the course of this season, Davis Mills had every reason to come out and just go through the motions in the second half, knowing full well nobody would really blame him for another loss. But he didn't do that. The neck kept battling. The neck fought hard. The neck showed he isn't just a neck. He's also a massive pair of balls. The neck for the win! Now, I should point out that, like many of you, I have absolutely no idea why Davis Mills is able to connect so much more effectively with Nico Collins than CJ Stroud has been this season. But here we are. Nico Collins, 15 targets, 7 receptions, 136 yards receiving with a long of 54 on a meaningless Hail Mary that didn't reach the end zone to close out the first half. I've been saying this shit all season. Like, just throw Nico the goddamn ball over and over and over. Just throw him the ball. Get Nico the ball. Fuck the run game, fam. As long as Joe Mixon is off doing whatever the hell he is doing, just fucking air it out, dude. I don't understand why we don't do that more often. I obviously realize it's situational depending on the defense we're facing, but like that was it. That what we got going at the end of the third and into the fourth quarter, that was it. That was it. Just throw Nico the ball. Davis Mills was so much better at connecting with Nico Collins than we have seen CJ Stroud be this season, which is a little befuddling, and we'll get to more of that at the end of today's show. Dalton Schultz had a couple of really, really rough plays, including some missed blocks and a bad drop, but he kept battling too. Schultz ended up with 7 receptions himself for 53 yards, one of which was also game-saving with the Texans backed up in their own end zone on third down late in the game. Jaden Higgins had 5 catches for 42 yards. Jalen Noel had 4 catches for 35 yards. The rookies showed up and showed out in their own right. They were given more snaps, more opportunities, more targets, and look what happens. Look what happens. I still can't believe we won that game. It's Wednesday, and I'm still in shock. I can't even imagine how Jaguars fans feel. What a bunch of fucking losers. 26 fourth quarter points were more than the Texans scored in 5 full games this season. There are 5 full games in which they didn't score 26 total points. They scored 26 points in just the fourth quarter against the Jags. Can I explain it? Not really. Not really. Do I care what the reasoning is? Not really. I'm just happy it happened. Also, have to give a huge shout out to the referees who called illegal use of hands to the face on Jacksonville, on the Jacksonville offense with like 7 seconds left in the game to keep the Jaguars out of field goal range, which it turns out is like 70 freaking yards with their kicker. It was absolutely the right call, by the way. And for as much shit as the referees take for missing crucial calls, this one needs to be pointed out as a great call. Things like this never go our way, ever. How many games have we lost in just the last 3 seasons, including this one, where there was like a fourth quarter meltdown and we lose by 1 score? How many times have things in the end gone against the Texans, including with the referees? And for some reason, things just flipped. The whole fucking cosmos changed in this game. And now as a result, this season is not over. The Houston Texans are now somehow 1 game back from the final wild card spot in the AFC. We're 1 game back from the final wild card spot. That's the playoffs. Playoffs. For comparison, the Kansas City Chiefs are 5-4 and still considered to be one of the best teams in football. We're 4-5. The Texans are 4-5. We're not nearly as screwed as it felt like we were a couple of weeks ago when CJ Stroud went down. A lot of us had given up on this team, myself included. I mean, given up on the season. I wouldn't say I've given up on the team, but I had definitely given up on the season. I thought the season was over. Because I just want to be proud of the fight that the team shows on the field every week. Win or lose. That's what I want as a sports fan, as a Texans fan, as a Rockets fan, as an Astros fan. It's not all about winning. It's really not. I'm not just being a fucking softie. It's really, really not. Like, I just want to see the team play well and fight hard and look like they care about the result and look like they were prepared for the game. That's what I want to see across all the major sports. That's what I want to see. I just realized my fly is down. I just zipped it up. I don't know why. It's not important. But that's it. That's the thing that had been missing this season for the most part. In basically every loss the Texans have accumulated so far, it didn't feel like they were professionally prepared. Mostly on offense. We're talking about the offense here. Let's be clear. Like I've said, ad nauseum at this point. The defense is fantastic. The defense has been fantastic every single game this season, all 9 of them, okay? But it just didn't feel like they had any fight. And this is where it gets weird. This is what, because you were so, win or lose, you were proud of this team in the second half if you hadn't bailed. And I flipped over to the Rockets, like I said, for a few minutes because we had a day game against the Milwaukee Bucks. Big game. Needed to see the Rockets have a little turnaround after a loss. And obviously I've got the Texans game up on Gamecast on my phone. And when I saw, oh shit, we're not completely screwed yet, I flipped it back on. And they were fighting. They fought. They tried. The effort was there. The heart was there. And that's what you want in your sports teams, man. That's what you want to see. And that's what they finally showed, especially in the fourth quarter, in this win over the Jags. And what's strange is that now, recency bias obviously playing a factor here. I'm not going to say we have a quarterback controversy, but we're close. Whether or not you want to admit that is a personal thing. That's your decision. That's your decision. But the fight starts with leadership. The heart starts with the leadership on your team. And again, the defense has not struggled with this, and they have a clear-cut leader of the defense in head coach D'Amico Ryans, in guys like Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, in guys like Azeez Al-Shaair. There are clear-cut leaders who set the tone every single week for the defense. Who is in charge of setting the tone for the offense, I ask? Who? Is it rookie offensive coordinator Nick Caley? Maybe. You could argue that. But really, who sets the tone for a football team on offense? It's the quarterback. And what have you seen from C.J. Stroud the bulk majority of the season in the games that he played? Did it look like fight to you, or did it look like depression? Did it look like a guy who had heart, or did it look like a guy who has kind of lost his way? I love C.J. He seems like a great dude. I love what we've seen from him as our franchise quarterback through the first 2.5 years of his career, 2.5 seasons of his career. But something has been off with him all season long, and anybody who's paying attention knows it. Fuck, you don't even have to watch the games. All you have to do is open the Houston Chronicle, read the paper. Every photo of him is a picture of him looking befuddled and down on himself and down on the offense and maybe depressed. And I don't know what he's going through, and he's a human being, right? But as a football player, which is what we're talking about today, he has not looked like the guy who's going to give spark to your offense with his fight, okay? That's not to say he'll look that way forever. I'm not burying C.J. Stroud, but if you want to pretend that there's not some level of a QB controversy brewing, then you're just kind of putting your head in the sand. Because what Davis Mills did in the second half is what this fucking offense has needed all season long. And they finally got it from the neck. A dude whose neck is thicker than my thighs. He did what needed to be done. And you have to have a quarterback who does what needs to be done. Do you not? To win in the NFL. We, maybe more than any other franchise aside from the Cleveland fucking Browns, know this. You have to have a quarterback who's got a good head on his shoulders or his massive tree trunk neck. And CJ hasn't been that guy, pal, this season. He hasn't been. Most of the season, he has not been that guy. And I understand the frustration on CJ's part. I get that this has not gone the way he planned on it going. I get that he probably had some input on the new offensive coordinator hire. I don't... It's hard for me to imagine a situation where D'Amico Ryans or Nick Caserio or the combination of the two don't get input from C.J. Stroud on who will be running his offense moving forward. If you want to keep your franchise quarterback happy, who's still on a rookie deal, then you probably want his input on the offensive coordinator, right? So I think the fact that he probably had some input there and then feeling like they may have made the wrong call and gotten the wrong guy and Nick Caley being a rookie offensive coordinator in the NFL, like that's just like being a rookie player. It takes time to figure shit out, get into the swing of things, figure out the speed of the game, get to know some of these situational decisions you have to make on a game-to-game basis, which change week to week. Every different team you play is going to be a completely different situation based on whatever the defense shows you, right? So I get all that. I understand. I'm just trying to include all the context possible here, so it doesn't just sound like I'm dumping on CJ Stroud, because that's not what I'm doing. But you have to admit, CJ has had a lot of struggles this season. His body language has been god awful. At no point in this game, even when things looked abysmal in the first half, did Davis Mills look like he quit? Or did Davis Mills look like he was down on himself or the team? That's including throwing an interception in the opening friggin' drive. You gotta have poise. You got to have fight. You've got to have heart. And Davis Mills displayed all of those characteristics over the course of this win against the Jaguars. It was incredibly impressive. We went from mocking the Texans front office for making Davis Mills the second highest paid backup quarterback in the NFL. He's got a $7 million check coming his way next season. That when he signed that extension that he picked up, he's owed $7 million next year. We went from mocking that to what happened in the second half, and particularly the fourth quarter. That is fight. That is heart. That was extremely impressive. Extremely impressive. And that's all I want to see. Win or lose. Fight. 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 Davis Mills in the second half against the Jaguars. I just rewatched the highlights before coming in here and sitting down in front of this microphone. Davis Mills looked as good, if not better, than CJ Stroud has at any point this season. That is not really an opinion. I mean, technically it is. But you could argue that's a fact. Go watch the highlights. It's 15 minutes for the full game highlights. Go watch the highlights and tell me I'm wrong. Davis Mills looked as good, if not better, than CJ Stroud has at any point this season in the second half. Okay? That is a weird spot for the franchise now. I doubt very much that there's any chance Davis Mills starts over a healthy CJ Stroud. Not counting the Titans game this week, which is essentially like a bye week. We all know we're going to beat the Titans. No matter who starts, at frankly, any fucking position. The Titans are that bad. They're that embarrassing. A pathetic franchise. They should be relegated at this point to another football league. They're not even worthy of the NFL anymore. And that's sad. But sorry, Tennessee. That's just the writing on the wall. So I think it's likely Davis Mills starts against the Titans, because why put CJ back out there in a game that's basically a gimme? It's a 1-foot putt, dude. Just let Davis keep rolling. Let him carry the momentum from that Jaguars game into the game against the Titans. Let's fucking crush the Titans, right? And it's a little bit of a trap game, I will admit that. Like, they have to stay prepared and on point and again, carry that momentum from this Jags game to the Titans game. They cannot take their foot off the gas. They cannot take their hands off the Titans' neck at any point in that game. They have to choke them out, okay? But there's really no reason for CJ Stroud to start against the Titans on Sunday. There's really not. And again, I would be pretty fucking surprised if CJ Stroud did not start over Davis Mills when he is back the following week or whatever. But it is certainly something to keep an eye on. Like, if CJ comes out and shits the bed and looks like he has, like I said, for the majority of the season, down, bad body language, maybe like he doesn't love the game anymore or whatever is going on with him, then it's going to be a conversation that has to be had in the front office, if it's not already being had. You go with the guy that gives you the best chance to win. What does Nick Caserio say so frequently about the NFL draft? They take the best player on the board, right? They always draft the best player on the board. It's a strategy a lot of people use for fantasy football. They don't go positionally. They take the best available player. Well, shouldn't you also put the player that gives you the best chance to win in the game at any given point, if that's your overall philosophy? And I think you could make the argument that, again, it's going to be circumstantial depending on the matchups, but like, with what we saw in this Jags game, if Davis Mills can bring what he brought in the second half to every game in every half, and granted, it's not like the the consistency from Davis Mills has been proven. It certainly hasn't been. But if he could, then why wouldn't he be the guy? So what I'm hoping is that CJ, who obviously I hope watched that Jaguars game, is that he can learn from what Davis Mills did. He can learn from the poise that Davis Mills showed. And that's the best case scenario. That CJ sees this, in this couple weeks off that he's had as sort of a learning opportunity, right? A teaching moment or whatever you want to call it. And that he comes out better after he clears concussion protocol and we're playing someone that's not like, a fucking minor league football team like the Titans are. So I don't know, man. Again, I'm not trying, this is already being widely discussed on Houston Sports Radio and Texans Twitter and on social media, whatever. But I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm not trying to make it like, ooh, oh yeah, QB controversy. I'm just saying from a logistical standpoint, using common sense logic, what you saw from Davis Mills is what you need to see from your starting quarterback, whoever that may be. That's the fight they have to show. That's the heart they have to display. That's the poise they have to carry themselves with. If you want to see your team win, if you want to see your team make the playoffs and get a wild card slot, because you're likely not winning the division against the Colts, considering our schedule, as I've said week after week after week, it's going to be an incredible mountain to climb if you want to get your third consecutive AFC South championship. Or the Colts are going to have a historic meltdown, which is not beyond the realm of possibility. But if you want to see your team win, you need leadership with fight and heart and that believes in not only themselves, most importantly, but also the teammates around them on the field, to have trust. And if you go back and watch those highlights like I just recommended you do, what you will notice is Davis Mills is not getting overly cute with this shit. A lot of the passes, especially some of the really big ones he completed, not counting the one to Dalton Schultz, that was in a fucking bucket. That was one of the best passes I've ever seen any Houston quarterback throw when they converted on that third down and essentially saved the game and potentially the season. But most of the passes he completed, like to Higgins and Knowles and to Nico Collins, he's just getting it in an area where no one else could possibly get to it. It's not hitting him in the chest. It's not hitting him in the hands. But it's up there somewhere where the only person that could possibly, conceivably catch that football is the receiver, not the fucking defense, okay? That's what CJ needs to do. It feels like he's been too hard on himself this season. Davis is just letting it fucking rip. He's got nothing to lose, and he's got a good arm. We all know Davis Mills has not only a neck, but a cannon. He's got a good arm. And he was making great reads in the second half. And maybe the Jags defense took their foot off the gas a little bit because they thought the game was over. But you can't judge this off of that. That's their problem. That's a Jaguars problem, not a Texans problem. So that's it. I'll leave it at that. I won't say anything else about the, potential quarterback controversy or whatever. But there are lessons to be learned from the way Davis Mills played in this second half for CJ Stroud. And I am hopeful that CJ will be able to emulate some of what Davis Mills showed there, some of the balls that he showed there. Because that's what CJ has been lacking all season long. Oh, one more note. The Texans should probably, this is just a suggestion based on the things I've witnessed, probably work on 2-point conversions in practice. What the fuck are we doing? Two of the worst 2-point conversion attempts I've ever seen in this game, including the one at the end that would have made it a 3-point lead instead of a 1-point lead, where Davis Mills fumbled and then just laid down on the football, and that was literally the 2-point try. This is not the first game. This has been shown to be an extremely jarring weakness for this team. Maybe spend 20 minutes of practice at some point this week, because again, you got the Titans, right? You got the Titans coming up on the schedule. Practice the 2-point conversions, guys. Let's get a little bit. And this, frankly, translates to the entire issue we've had in the red zone all season long. Why is it that within the 10-yard line, these dudes look like a completely different team? I don't get it. I really don't. Good teams get more confident the closer they get to the goal line. This team, shits themselves, and these 2-point tries have been utterly embarrassing. They have got to practice those more. So great win. I'm not trying to end on a negative note. Great win. Honestly, one of the best wins I've seen as a Texans fan, considering the stakes and considering the circumstances and considering you don't have a run game and you've got Davis Mills throwing the ball 40-plus times. That's one of the best wins I've ever seen. It was invigorating. Now, that will do it for today's show, but I will be back Friday to discuss the last several Rockets games, including their incredible comeback win over the Milwaukee Bucks on Comeback Sunday. God, that was incredible. What a great Sunday of Houston sports. We really needed that, man. We really needed the vibe shift. And that felt like it was it. Remember, we have new episodes dropping twice weekly, usually Mondays and Fridays. My schedule's been a bit wonky this past couple of weeks because of personal stuff, but usually we drop Mondays and Fridays. Regardless, we get 2 episodes out a week. YouTube.com/@bangingthecan. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, like, turn on notifications for our channel so you know immediately when new episodes drop. And then leave a comment. Tell me what you saw in this Texans-Jags game that gave you hope. Tell me what you think we could continue to work on. What was the best moment for you or anything you want to call out or anything maybe that I forgot to mention that you think is worthy of discussion. Leave us a comment in the comment section. All those things help our show continue to grow so that I can continue to do our show. You got to have, if you're not growing, you're dying. Who said that? Tommy Callahan's dad and Tommy Boy. So if you're on YouTube, subscribe, like, turn on notifications, comment, please, and thank you. If you're on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating and leave us a 2 or 3 sentence review about why you like our show. If you're on Spotify, where I would note, you can also watch our show in full. There's full video on Spotify now. Isn't that neat? You can also opt to just listen to the audio if that's your preference. But if you're on Spotify, give us 5 stars as well. There's a little 5-star rating system on Spotify. Helps us grow. On that note, please share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with your friends and family. The holiday season is coming up. Tell your people, your uncles, your aunts, your cousins, your moms, your dads, your girlfriends, your boyfriends, whoever. Tell them about Banging the Can and our coverage of both the Texans and the Rockets, which are ongoing at the moment. Of course, we also covered the Astros during Astros season. Follow us on social media at Banging the Can on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Threads, where you'll find me, on Twitter. I like to live tweet during games. I at least provide some level of commentary. I don't go crazy. I'm not giving you updates on every play or anything like that, but if anything significant happens, I'm usually commenting on that. If you see our clips on Instagram, share them. Put them in your story. Hit us with a like. Throw a comment in there. The more engagement you get, the more social media shows your shit to people, the more it grows. That's how social media works. I need y'all, can bangers, to help me grow the show. I can only do so much on my end. I'm one man. It's a small business we've got. We've got 3 full-time employees, one of which works full-time on his own show. Does not fuck with my shit at all. So it's just me and producer Kade in here grinding, trying to grow this thing into something legitimate. This isn't even monetized at this point. We don't even make money off this. I'm just doing it for the love of the fucking game. But I can't do it that way forever. I'm 38 years old. I got 2 kids. So the more you can help me grow this thing, the more grateful I will be to you. I do love all of you for being here. It means a lot to me to be able to do this every week. I really, really enjoy it. But we need more. We need more can bangers to join the clan. Okay? And again, I will be back Friday to discuss the last several Rockets games, including that incredible comeback win over the Bucks. Until next time, H-Town, stay down.